Welcome back, everybody, to the ESL UK Premiership Week 4. I am here with Vedius once again to bring you all of the League of Legends UK action. And we're going to be heading into our third game of the night, the second of the series between Team Infused and XL Esports. Now, Infused took the first game in, honestly, terrifyingly good fashion. XL didn't really seem to be... well, actually, no, that's unfair. I don't think XL played bad. I just think Infused played incredibly well. And we're going to be heading into the Champion Select for our second game.
Yeah, in fairness to XL, the amount of pressure they applied bot was very well done. It was just that the amount of pressure that Kino... like, I keep going on about it, but it's the fact that Kino was applying pressure to 2 lanes by only pressuring 1. Yeah. And it was just like, that is just an incredible thing to do. And not like, he shut down the mid laner, he gave Alphari a free lane, and he maintained consistent vision control over the enemy jungle. And like doing all those 3 things incredibly well pretty much solidified the early game for Team Infused. So very well played by them. Looking at this second game, we can already see bans coming out pretty thick and fast. Gangplank going to be taken away from Alphari, same for the Aurelia, and we can see the Kalista and Rek'Sai ban. This time they're also going to take away the Gnar, so I am expecting a Fiora to come out from Artorias. Yeah,
so just before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Champion Select, quick shout-out to, of course, all of our sponsors, AOC, SanDisk, Need for Seat, and now Tornado Energy, our new sponsor. So welcome to the ESL family, Tornado Energy. Obviously, you can find all of them at the side of your screen right now, but the final ban is going to be the Fiora. Yeah, well, both sides. But we are going to see the Fiora is the final ban. Oh, is it going to be a Mordekaiser? It's locked in. We finally get to see the new Mordekaiser in the Premiership.
Yeah, it does look like that. We are going to have it. That is 100%. 100% that's a Mordekaiser AD carry. Yep. I know it is. I know Joker has played a bucket ton of it. I know he really likes the champion, and it means that we can talk about it a bunch, which is what I'm going to do now. So, for those that don't know, he's had a bunch of changes.
Nobody was contesting that.
I'm keen. I'm keen. I'm as keen as Kino, right? I'm sorry, man.
Are you going to combo this?
I'm sorry. Am I going to... God damn it, Munch. Always one step ahead. Right.
Anyway, Mordekaiser.
Mordekaiser. So, the changes to his W mean that he, every time he kills a creep, he gets maximum experience from it. So, basically, if you put him in a duo lane, no matter how many people are in the lane with him, he will always get full experience. So, he will always gain an experience advantage over the bottom lane duo, which is why he's incredibly strong as an AD carry. Generally, you don't build him full AP either. One of the more conventional builds that I've seen is you actually start with a... what is it called? You start with the Targons, and you use that, and you pretty much share that with your support, constantly trading back and forth the free health and farm. As well as that, you generally go for like a kind of double kind of build, as it were. So you build Trinity Force, and you get Gunblade. Yeah. So you have a hybrid kind of build with a mixture of both AP, and it is so annoying. And on top of that, you can have a dragon follow you around.
Yeah, I think the dragon is kind of maybe a little bit ridiculous. It feels very ridiculous.
I've seen Mordekaiser's solo Baron with just a dragon next to them. Like, what? Why does that
Why is this in the game? Well, we'll see. I mean, I think the biggest thing about the dragon is if you can get the first dragon for yourselves and just send that into the bottom lane, you can just right-click or press R on the enemy AD carry and just watch it force them out of lane. Just watch them not be able to do anything to stop it and just secure that tower basically for free.
It's really good at tower diving as well because it has as much health as the actual dragon does. So yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't really see very much Mordekaiser in my solo queue games, but nevertheless, it is still a funky doodle thing to bring out.
I think one of the key things about it as well is because it's so new and it's a completely different playstyle to standard AD carry, it's not something a lot of people are going to be willing to just jump straight into in ranked, and maybe need a little bit more time to get used to the fact that there is this whole new different thing in the meta.
Yeah, and you know, we've talked a lot about Mordekaiser, but let's talk about the rest of the things that have decided to pop up in Champs League, because we've got a few interesting things coming out from XL. But moving on to the side of Infused, we can see a Thresh Elise. Kino, with his Rek'Sai ban, decided that he's going to go for that fairly powerful Elise pickup. As well as that, we're going to see that Azir come out from Charlie T. Charlie T is a very experienced Azir player. He really likes the champion, very good at the champion. And as well as that, we're going to have a Tristana Thresh in the bottom lane. Tristana seems to be a very contested pick these days just because of how much it offers. You know, once it gets the Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer combo, it's an incredibly strong AD carry. He has very good sieging, he has very long range, very good all-round AD carry.
Yeah. Interestingly, I've just noticed across the XL lineup, we have 3 of the 4 Juggernauts locked in here. We've got the Mordekaiser AD carry, we've got the Skarner jungle, and we've got the Darius top. Now, Reddit has been going crazy with 1,000,001 different threads about Juggernauts are OP. I mean, maybe we just see them stomp due to OP champions.
If XL wins this, then we can confirm Juggernauts OP.
Yeah.
But
this is the decider.
This is the decider. This
Are
is
the Reddit threads true?
This will answer all of your questions. So so to talk a little bit about Darius, because I was playing against Darius the other day, and I hadn't fully read the patch notes. I just read that Darius had some changes, and I was like, whatever, he looks like pretty much the same champion as before. So I was trading with him, about to kill him, then all of a sudden he gained all of his health back. I was like, wait a minute, what?
What just happened?
So
why am I dead?
Yeah, exactly. So if he lands his like outer range Q, his swinging basketball net, as it were, then he gets a percentage of his health gained back, which means that his trading is particularly strong. As well as that, his ultimate, if he gets a kill with his ultimate, I believe that he starts applying 5 stacks of hemorrhage to every single person that he auto attacks, which means that he can constantly reset his ultimate. His ultimate does more damage as well, depending on the more hemorrhage stacks that are on the target. So if he gets 1 kill, he is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, the appropriately named Noxian Guillotine just... It's so difficult to deal. If Darius starts to pull ahead, it's so hard to be able to deal with him. If he can get onto you, he just wipes the floor with people, and we'll see if that's going to be the case in this game. Nesquik again on the Skarner. We saw him on it last game. Had a decent showing. Massive amount of focus on the bottom lane, trying to get Jokerism fed. Unfortunately for him, Kino was elsewhere on the map, just controlling everything. This time, Kino going to be on the Elise. So obviously, Elise, a very, very strong jungler currently. Skarner as well. I'd probably put them in a similar place on a tier list. How do you feel this? Who's going to be able to pressure the map better this game?
Well, I imagine it's going to be very similar cases to last game. Kino is still on a very early game-centric champion. He can literally do exactly the same ganks that he did last game, just repel over the wall rather than tunnel over it. So, you know, that is... I do expect a large amount of pressure to be applied. But Ped is playing Lulu this game, and I would argue Lulu's a lot harder to gank than Victor is, simply because she has so much in her kit that helps keep her alive. So I don't imagine that all of the pressure is going to be applied to the middle. I imagine that most of Kino's pressure will either be top, or it will be in the bottom lane. But at saying that, they could very well lane swap, because you know, one way to deal with a Mordekaiser that I have seen is to swap him out. You know, don't put the 2v2 against him. You know, have him in a 1 versus 2 lane so that he can't make the maximum use out of that experience advantage that he gains. As well as that, you don't really want to 1v1 a Darius, because Darius is a pain. So by having a 2v1 lane against Darius, then you know, that's another way of dealing with him as well. So
smart pick though on the Malphite, because I mean, if there's one champion that you pick in the top lane just to play safe on, aside from Shen, it's probably Malphite. And then obviously Maokai as well. But Malphite definitely, with an Azir, with a Tristana, that ultimate is going to be so useful in those fights. Yeah,
there isn't a huge amount of magic damage actually coming out from the side of XL. They do obviously have that Lulu who, you know, has a fair amount of magic damage, but even when fade, doesn't like do ridiculous amounts of damage.
Yeah.
So they don't really have to concern themselves too much with the amount of magic damage coming out from XL. Obviously there is some coming out from Jokerism and some coming out from Nesquik. So they can't completely ignore it. I do expect an early locket to come out from Kino. But nevertheless, they still have an interesting lineup. One thing we haven't noted is the fact that they brought in their second top laner. So they've got Artorias in for this game.
That's true, yeah.
So he's going to be playing up against Alfari. And like mechanically, I feel he's somewhat stronger than Rory. I feel the main difference between them is I think, you know, we've seen Artorias get caught out a fair amount in previous games and slight mispositioning, somewhat poor decision making. I think what Rory offers to the team is slightly more decisive shot calling. He's a lot more, you know, he works much better in terms of a team. But I do feel as though Artorias as an individual is slightly mechanically stronger. And I guess what they've decided is up against Alphari, that's what they want. They want somebody who's slightly more mechanically adept to be able to deal with Alphari. And
I think as well, Artorias is the kind of player that I mean, we've talked about this in previous weeks. He's the kind of player that wants to go 10-1. He wants to just snowball and start to dominate. And even if he starts to fall behind, he'll still make those aggressive plays. And I mean, if you're going to do that kind of play style, Darius is the champion to do that kind of thing on. And we'll see if he's going to be able to snowball this game for XL Esports, or whether Infused are going to be able to take this best of 3 2-0. So far, Infused have been looking incredibly strong, but with the subbing of the top laner, maybe XL have this one on the cards. They've got 3 out of the 4 new Juggernauts on their squad, and we'll see if that's going to be enough for them to take this second game. Now, taking a look at this bot lane, on the presumption that it is the 2 versus 2 lane, how does Tristana fare against that Mordekaiser?
It's funny that you should ask that, because I actually played this particular matchup the other day in solo queue. I was playing Leona support with my Mordekaiser, and he does a fantastic job of constantly shoving the wave. And it's so hard to trade against him just because of the shield that he has, that he's just, it makes it very difficult for a Tristana in the early game stages. But Tristana does have a lot of damage once she hits that level 6 point, so they have to be careful of that, and they also have to be careful of the fact that Jokerism's actually running Ignite over heal. So the ability, the 2v2 is definitely going to be very strong for XL, which is why I heavily question whether or not they're actually going to go for it. They may very well, they might feel confident in their ability to 2v2 in that bottom lane, but last game we did see that, you know, a couple of 2v2s did not go in Infused favor. So we'll have to see what they do decide overall. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this Mordekaiser come out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how well he's going to be able to do on that pentakill Mordekaiser. No lane swap wards or anything coming out from either team. So it's very likely that we do end up seeing this 2v2 lane. As I say that, though, Jokerism heading back to base. Maybe deciding they do go for the lane swap, but immediately cancels the back just to prove me wrong.
They are trolling you just a little bit. What I expect is for the standard Golem/Krug start, the Krug/Grump start, as well as the double jungle coming out from both top and jungler in order to predict or deal with the event of a lane swap. So yeah, I'm really excited. I hope that things work out for XL, because I'd like to see a game 3 between these two teams. But you know, again, on paper it does feel as though Infused should have this one in the bag. But Artorias, oh, he has been spotted out by a ward.
Yeah, it was just stood on a ward in that tri-brush. Maybe deterred Infused from starting this one. We'll have to see. Artorias is going to head over to lane. Alphari and Kino are going to be able to start off those Krugs. Oh, very nice by Artorias. He's going to be able to get this lane pushing in his favor by stacking up those minions. So very, very nice start for him.
Yeah, so I like that decision from Artorias. He did recognize that Alphari was there. What he probably would have done is, if Alphari wasn't there, he would have let the entire minion wave dive to the tower. So that way, by doing that, he would have, you know, Alphari would have lost an entire wave of experience, and it would have given an advantage. No, Artorias would have been even in terms of experience. So I like that coming out from Artorias. We can already see Exavite displaying his cow dominance in the bottom lane.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you tend to see on those Alistairs. When you hit that level 2 early, you can be so aggressive and just force your opponents out of lane. And so far, he's been able to do a decent job of that. Poyulk and Arfan both still only level 1, finally hitting level 2 now. Charlie T already setting up some wards for his jungler, making sure that this Skarner can't just control that top side of the jungle for free.
So you can already see how this lane works, constantly shoving them under the tower, not really being able to do much about it. And the same thing goes in the top lane. Artorias constantly throwing out damage. He has landed a lot of damage onto Alphari.
Yes, indeed. Alphari having to back away from that one. 300 HP on that piece of a mountain. He's out of flask charges though, so he is going to have to head on back to his fountain, heal up, and potentially teleport back to the lane. So Artorias potentially taking a teleport advantage out of this one. So good job by him on that Darius to start to get ahead in this early game, but all of the junglers are heading to the bottom lane as Poyok exhausted and ignited already. Jokerism in a whole lot of trouble though. There's the first blood for Infused. Exabyte having to flash away. Nice gank from Kino.
And this is the problem with constantly shoving up. It does leave you exposed to a gank. And this is something that I talked about. Kino may very well now be looking to apply pressure in this bottom lane, as it would have been the easiest lane to gank. And with Mordekaiser falling behind in this early game, that might not be great for the side of XL. He doesn't burn his flash, so he still has that available, but he has used his ignite, which means that shoving might be a little bit harder, so they need to keep an eye out on this bottom lane.
They certainly do, and we're just going to see Kino immediately starting to take away these jungle camps, making sure that he can control the jungle of Nesquik. It's what we saw from him last game as well. And now he's looking towards this middle lane. Ped could be in trouble here. Level 4 on that Lulu. Still has both summoner spells. But Kino gonna look for the cocoon. It's not quite gonna connect though. And he has to back away.
Yeah, so a little bit of pressure coming out from Kino in this middle lane. Not much gonna be gained from it. Nevertheless, we can see it is pretty even across the map in terms of CS. Kino did pick up that first blood, which is fantastic for him. But yeah, nevertheless, I wonder what he's actually now going to do with it. He may very well rush a Sightstone, look to get a, look to try and get himself an early Sightstone, try and get deep vision down into the enemy jungle, similar to what he did in the last game. We'll just have to see what he decides.
Yeah, we will have to see what he opts to go for in this one, but up in the top lane, we have Kino coming on in. Artorias could be in trouble here, but Alfari got 5 stacks of hemorrhage, but Artorias isn't level 6 yet. Pulling Kino under the tower, that's going to be the E landing. Can they get the stun onto the spider? Yes, they can. The damage coming out from Artorias. He picks up his first kill of the game, and he's looking for Alfari as well. Can they get any CC down? No, Alfari forced to flash away from that one. Beautiful counter gank from Nesquik.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful of ganking a Darius. What a fantastic player by Artorias to flash under the tower and bring him straight under the tower. Oh, he didn't even flash under the tower, he just straight up dragged him under the tower and said, "You're coming with me, little spider." Tried to go up the spout. Nope, you're actually coming down it. So they dragged him under the tower. Huge chunk of damage. And then that beautiful smite slash execute. And while I'm talking, Jokerism takes a huge chunk of damage.
It does indeed. Trading a little bit back onto Arfan, but I mean, not doing as phenomenally on this Mordekaiser as we had expected. He's starting to fall behind a bit in CS, and actually XP-wise, he's a little bit ahead still, but that death earlier on has not been doing him too many favors. Going to take another chunk here from Poyok, and really, really tricky one for him.
Yeah, he is struggling a little bit on the bottom lane, but something that I haven't really seen is like late game Mordekaiser, and I wonder how well it'll do into the late game. We already know how strong a Tristana is as a late game champion. It'll be incredibly interesting to see how well he does coming into these mid to late stages. You know, having a Trinity Force is always going to give you a bit of a power spike, but as I'm talking about the Exabyte.
Yeah, Exabyte is going to be going down here. Exhaust going to be used just to add insult to injury as the teleport comes through. Well, in a lot of trouble as Artorias lands, but he doesn't quite manage to pull that Tristana back towards himself. Doesn't have the flash to use the Noxian Guillotine. That's going to be a 1-for-0 in favor of XL, so at least they get something on the board here.
That's a little bit unfortunate.
Oh, sorry,
for,
in favor of Infused, not XL.
A little bit unfortunate there for Artorias. It was a nice teleport, but he is now going to lose a fair amount of farm in that top lane as a result. They may try and pick up a Drake as this. They do know that the bottom lane for Infused has been forced back, so they should be able to pick up this Drake fairly easily. And so that teleport, overall, not that bad of a trade for XL.
Yeah, Alfari does have his teleport available, opting to just walk to lane though instead. And with the dragon on the side, Infused might just have to back away from this one. Nesquik taking a chunk from that Azir, got sand in his eyes as the dragon starts to push this lane for them, and they head straight towards this middle lane tower. We'll see what they're going to be able to do with this dragon. Just look at it, chunking down that tower. and there's not a whole lot that Infused can do about this one.
Yeah, well, they have left Polk in the bottom lane to siege as much as he can, and to be honest, with the wave clear coming out from Charlie T, they may very well be able to prevent anything really coming from this. I mean, there is a large amount of damage coming out onto the tower, but will it really be enough to be able to take the tower? I'm not convinced.
No, it is going to end up dropping down there. So the timer did run out on the Dragon, and they've wasted a lot of resources there. Hoyle in the bottom lane has actually got a harder push going than they ever managed in that middle lane. Can he finish off the tower? Does have the rocket jump to be able to play this a little bit more dangerously. Does manage to get that one, and with Arfan there, they're not even going to be able to capitalize on his positioning.
Yeah. They are going to lose that bottom tower, so a slight poor decision coming out from XL. They do try to get the middle tower, but weren't able to pick that one up, and as a result, they will lose this bottom tower. I don't think it's all that bad for Jokerism, though. It does pretty much give him a much easier lane, and now Exavite might be looking to try and roam, try and get some pressure around the rest of the map. He does have that option available to him on an Alistair, but the only real lane he's going to be able to pressure is that top, because it's going to be so hard for Lulu to have any real kill pressure on this Azir.
Yeah, I mean, Lulu's not really the kind of champion that you pick up for kill pressure. It's kind of one of the safest mid laners that you can go for, and that's exactly why you pick it, to have that safety and as well that presence in team fights, that extra kind of support player on the team. And as you say, not really going to have kill pressure on Azir, but at the same time, Azir not really going to have kill pressure on the Lulu either, just because of the safety of that champion. And just look at the damage Artorias is able to just regularly put down onto Alphari here.
The thing that gets me is like the small amount of mana that it costs. Like, you can see his mana bar is barely going down at all, and because of the heal that it gives, you know, he's sustaining pretty well. So I mean, I think it's ridiculous. He can trade so incredibly well. You know, constantly harass his lane opponent, constantly sustain up, and like, definitely a strong champion to deal with. But I know he's not unbeatable. Having played it once myself in the top, the first time I played it against a Karma. Oh my lord, it was horrendous. Like, you couldn't do anything. Karma was so good at kiting that Darius around. Oh, as I say that, Artorias might be in some trouble.
Speaking of Darius, he is in a 1 versus 3. No matter how much damage you can do, no matter how much sustain you've got, that is not ever going to be a favorable situation. And that is going to be a nice, easy pickup for Infused, and they head towards this top lane tier 1 tower with a Tristana here. They should be able to pick this one up with relative ease. And actually a teleport going to come out in this bottom lane to try and make sure that the bottom lane tower isn't lost for them. Alphari, though, they're just going to immediately start to dive onto him. And actually, maybe has to back away from this one, deciding to stick around. Doesn't have his ultimate, though, and now has to back away once he realizes that Nesquik is on his way to ruin his day.
Yeah, they are going to be able to pick up this bottom tower, which isn't a bad pickup for XL, but unfortunately Artorias did lose his life as a result of not having any vision in the area. So still a gold advantage in the favor of Infused, but at least it doesn't look quite as snowbally as it did in the first game. XL holding their own a little bit better coming into the 12-minute mark.
Actually, you say that. Last game, I think it was only about 1,000 gold lead at this point. They were doing okay because of the gold lead they had in that bottom lane. They were falling too far behind at this point. But then there was a fight around sort of, I think it was 15 minutes, that just suddenly it was like 8,000 gold, like just like that. But we are going to see them heading towards this middle lane. And XL, I feel like they need to be proactive in this game. They need to start to try and take control of the game if they want to put this win on the board.
But it's very difficult for them with their composition. They do rely quite heavily on their the champions that they're playing to get a fair number of items. For example, they need Lulu to really have completed that Rod of Ages that he's going to go for, as well as the you know, some kind of damage item. I do expect a Death Cap to follow on from that, maybe even a Void Staff, but you know, they really need items. You also need like that Trinity Force completed on the Mordekaiser, as well as maybe the workings of his Gunblade. So, as well as that, Darius really needs that Black Cleaver completed, as well as a few tanky items. So, you know, really I feel they need a few more. They need to try and mitigate their losses this early on into the game, do their best to try and get as many items as possible, and as I'm saying, it looks like they've set something up for Alphari.
Yeah, Alphari in a little bit of trouble. Artorias actually pulling him back towards his own tower. The Noxian Guillotine going to be used, but Alphari going to be able to get away from that one. Unstoppable Force just to pull himself to safety. but XL should be able to grab this tier 1 tower off the back of that gank. So even without the kill, they're going to be okay. But there is a fight going on. Jokerism is going to be going down. Nesquik now going to be the next target. And nice Emperor's Divide to push him back into the team. There's the play. A Wild Growth comes through though, and maybe he lives or maybe not as Arfan lands the death sentence. And that is going to be one dead Scorpion in that jungle.
Yeah, again, this all comes thanks to the superior vision control coming out from Kino. They were able to get a nice pick onto Jokerism. It did look like he was about to live, but Charlie T committed pretty much all of his, all of his summoners to be able to pick up a kill onto Jokerism. So he did lose his life in that engage, as well as Nesquik doing his best to get out, but just wasn't quite able to. So on the back of that, Infused are going to pick themselves up a Drake as well. So now that's 1-to-1 in Drakes.
Yeah, I've just realized, I hope nobody watching right now has arachnophobia because we have both a Spider and a Scorpion playing from the jungle in this game. Kino on that Elise and Nesquik on that Skarner. And so far, the Elise proving to be the better of the two. 2-on-3 on that Spider Lady. And in the meantime, 0-1-on-1 on Nesquik's Skarner. So these Juggernauts so far this game not proving to be as effective as Reddit has told me. But
in fairness to Artorias, his laning phase has gone incredibly well.
That is true.
He has done a good job of forcing Alphari back, and this is one of the few times I've actually seen Alphari go even in lane rather than dominate it. However, he is playing a tanky champion in the form of Malphite, and this is probably also the first time I've seen Alphari play something that he can't carry on. So we'll have to see how he uses that coming into these mid stages of the game. But nevertheless, Infused still pretty much hold all of the momentum. Kino has done a good job of pressuring the map, very similarly to what he did in the last game. You can see he already has a 100% kill participation, been involved in setting up all of the ganks all across the map. And yeah, Kino once again having a very fantastic game.
Yeah, doing a really, really good job for himself. And we saw the same thing last game. Kino seems to be sort of the driving force for this team. 100% kill participation so far this game. Similar thing happening in the last game as well, as potentially we see a fight starting to set up in this top lane. Wards coming out from either side into that tri-brush. Nobody wanting to be the one caught out of position, as the red buff going to be started here for Infused. We do see Exabyte hanging around, but there's not really going to be much he can do to carry that one away from himself.
So, seeing as we have a bit of a lull here, this will give me an opportunity to talk about the Rod of Ages that you see on Lulu. So having chatted to Ped a couple times, I do ask him, why do you bother buying Rod of Ages? And he says, well, basically it makes you slightly tanky. It means that very rarely do you actually have to ult yourself. You can dedicate your ultimates to everyone else on your team. As well as that, it sort of scales better than a Morella Nomicon does. So coming into the mid and late stages of the game, it it offers slightly better stats. So that's generally why he does it. More of a scaling item, and it allows him to help his team out more.
Yeah, I can certainly see that, but the teleport is going to be something else I can see. It's actually going to be cancelled though. And nothing happens.
Nothing happens. He definitely would have been in a bad position.
Flash. I say that. There is something happening. Jokerism is in all kinds of trouble. There's the flash play coming out. Everybody from Infused has arrived for the fight, but actually it's going to be caught up by that Scorpion grab. And actually nobody going down just yet. Kino having to repel away. He's incredibly low, but everybody from Infused surviving, and the XL health bars are starting to drop. That's going to be one kill for the Spider. Kino taking that one away. And now maybe XL are looking to re-engage. Artorias has walked on down. There's a lantern to pull the AD carry to safety. And just a one kill and a disengage coming out from Infused.
Yeah, that's incredibly unfortunate. Artorias might be caught out.
Oh, he might be indeed. He's going for the 1 versus 4, but he's not going to be able to take it. He ends up going down, and now Exabyte pushing forward a little bit too far there. Azir arrives on the scene. He's going to go down. That's going to be Charlie T taking yet another kill for himself. 2-0-2 on the Azir, 2-0-3 on the Tristana. This is starting to look a little bit dicey for XL.
Yeah, that fight basically was started because the failed TP coming out from Artorias. They recognized that they would always have a numbers advantage because that teleport was down. They forced the 4v5 out, and imagine if Artorias was in that fight, they easily would have cleaned up. Every single member of Infused was so incredibly low, and if they just had the reset constantly coming out, all of the the reset ultimate coming out from Artorias pretty much would have decided that fight then and there. But because he wasn't there, because they knew they had the numbers advantage, they were able to pick themselves up a kill and come out ahead in that fight. And then unfortunately for Artorias, he just greeted. He overstayed and they ended up losing another 2 members when they just didn't need to. They are able to pick up the middle tier 1 tower, but you know, was it really worth 3 members of their team?
That is the question. We'll have to find out. I mean, 3,000 gold lead for Infused. Not anything too huge. It's not definitely game over just yet. Exabyte taking a death sentence and a huge chunk of damage there as well. So he's going to have to back away from this one. Ultimate's available just about all the way across the board here. Just that box for Arfan not available. So we certainly could see a fight coming out in just a minute or so, as the dragon is going to be spawning once again. So far it's 1 dragon apiece for these teams. And we'll see who's going to be the one to be able to take away the next one.
Now I wonder how these fights will go with Artorias in a minute. It does look like they're getting a bit of poke down, and Kino's in trouble.
He certainly is. He's going to be pulled on into his team, but the Repel is going to pull him to safety, as Exabyte is the one in the trouble right now. He's going to be going down, and now Nesquik on this front line, he's going to be focused on down. There's the ultimate from Alfarius. Pet drops as well. Double kill for the Mountain up in that top lane. And now Artorias, he's going to get caught up by a death sentence. There's 2 carries there. He has to flash away. And just a really clean fight for Team Infused. Charlie T going very aggressive. A nice Emperor's Divide though, as Jokerism flashes for him, but he gets caught on the wrong side of the wall. And now Artorias, the last man standing, goes down to a volatile Spiderling. And that's going to be an ace for Team Infused.
Yeah, unfortunately for Team XL there, they basically walked into a choke that allowed Charlie Team to sit in the brush and have his Azir soldiers do as much damage as they wanted. All 3 of them were just hitting on the backline, and it completely separated the team from Exabyte and Nesquik, and there was just no way for them to follow up. Then once the front line of XL was down, it was easy for Infused to continue their follow-up and pick up the remaining kills. They're able to ace that of XL, pick up that tier 2 tower in the middle lane, and pick themselves up a Drake. So massive gold swing now in favor of Infused.
Yeah, the same thing again happening that we saw in the first game. There's a 3,000 gold lead for Infused at around sort of 18 minutes. They're able to start to snowball, and then suddenly there's a team fight that just goes completely Infused way, and they're 8,000 gold ahead. Almost exactly the same as last game.
The biggest difference I feel with last game and this game is, in the last game, Infused were picking very smart fights, and they were basically coming out ahead because they knew they had the gold lead. Whereas this time I feel like the gold lead is largely coming across from XL making 2 big mistakes. They're giving away too much. Like right here, they're overcommitting for this tier 2 tower, and they could lose more than they think.
They certainly could. Alfari is feeling very confident, just pushing very aggressively. Nesquik gonna go down. The tower isn't taken. This is bad news for XL as Pet starts to get focused down. Artorias jumping into this front line, trying to do what he can, but he's gonna get Buster shot away. Can't get his ultimate off. And now that's 2 kills for Infused. And that's, oh, Jokerism so close to getting Charlie T, but he just can't get it. There's another kill coming across for Infused. 2 5-man aces in a row. 0 deaths in the last 2 fights.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. They overextended for a tower that they just couldn't afford to get. This is just simply the second game is mistake after mistake coming out from XL. In the very early game, they weren't looking that bad. Obviously, they did lose that kill over to Jokerism, but Artorias picking up a kill in the top lane meant that they were still doing okay. They definitely had possibilities to come back into this game, but just too many misplays coming out from XL. You can't afford to give that to a team like Infused. They will capitalize and they will severely punish you for it. And you can see that with the scoreboard, like 1-0-16 for Arfan. I mean, he's been involved in 17 of the 18 kills for Infused, 5-0-9 for Polken. Just a bit of a shame from XL. I feel as though that first game may have tilted them a bit too much, and now they're getting completely destroyed in the second game.
Yeah, XL looking pretty much horizontal at this point. Arfan, though, could be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to be pulled on in, but Charlie T is here to help him out. Artorias not quite got the damage to finish him off, and that's going to be a solo kill somewhere else as Mordekaiser goes down to the enemy jungler. Kino just able to pick up the kill onto the AD carry, and he's going to be able to head towards that bottom lane tier 2 tower. In the meantime, though, Charlie T, a beautiful flash to dodge away from that pulverized. Nesquik flashes for the ultimate, though, and actually the Emperor's Divide is going to be huge, and now Nesquik going to go down. There's a double kill for Poil, and Infused are just cleaning house right now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what XL tried to do. Infused are completely dominating them. Can you believe that XL actually hasn't been able to get a kill in the last 15 minutes of this game? Absolutely dominating performance coming out from Infused, and this is what we expected coming out from this team. They are one of the best, if not the best, in the UK currently, and you can see that with Jokerism about to lose his life.
Yeah, already dead before we can even commentate. Artorias now going to be the next target. They're not even afraid of this tower. Charlie T going in forwards. That's going to be the kill coming in to Alfari, who gets knocked away from the tower by good guy Exabyte there. He's used his ultimate, but it's not going to matter as the surrender vote comes through. Team Infused with more kills than there are minutes on the clock.
Yeah, they cut it close though. They cut it incredibly close. 23 minutes, 54 seconds, and they come out with 24 kills. So yeah, incredibly strong performance from Infused this game, and you got to give a lot of credit to Kino. The last time we saw him play for Infused, we commented on how his early game was not that impactful. He wasn't really applying that much pressure, but he's completely changed that around this week. He's exerting a ridiculous amount of pressure in the early game. His vision control is outstanding. His map awareness is just so incredible. Really well played by Kino in this series, and really got to give credit to him. He's done a great job.
Absolutely, he's been pretty much the driving force behind his team, as I said earlier in the game. And I mean, honestly, the whole Infused lineup just looks incredibly strong right now. Nobody really losing a lane at any point in these games. Not anything to write home about, at least. Anyway, we did see, obviously, there was a kill onto Artorias early on in the game, but when you're playing that Malphite, there's not a whole lot of snowballing that's going to be able to come out in that top lane, and the rest of Infused just able to capitalize on the fact that their jungler is being so proactive, able to get those early kills and able to snowball the game. And then the second you head into the team fight phase of the game, Infused just seem to be so coordinated. Yeah,
they just picked the right team fights at the right time. I mean, that main team fight that pretty much, I don't want to say snowballed them the lead, because they were actually only able to pick up one kill in that 4 versus 5 team fight, but it's the fact that they knew that Artorias wouldn't join the fight because they saw the teleport, and the fact that that teleport was down meant, they could engage the fight and they would likely win it simply due to the numbers advantage. But you saw how low they all got. It was so hard to kill Jokerism with the support that he got from both Alistair and Lulu in that fight, and they were just doing so much damage to such a wide range of the Infused members, and it was really looking good. And if only Artorias was there, they could have easily cleaned up that fight and won it. But realistically, that never would have happened if they hadn't known that Artorias could join the fight. So, big misplay there from Artorias, but nice capitulation from Infused. And this is what I was talking about. You can't afford to make these mistakes against a team like Infused, because they will punish you for it, and they will take objectives and capitalize on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really well played by Infused. They are going to take that series 2-0. So, across the course of today, 2-0 victories. Exertus managing to take theirs over the Newell, and Team Infused managing to take the victory over XL Esports. Unfortunately, though, that is going to be the end of our UK Esports for tonight. We are going to be heading over, I think most of us are going to be heading over to watch the LCS promotional games, but thank you so much for watching. One final shout out to our sponsors, AOC, SanDisk, Need for Sleep, and now as well Tornado Energy Drinks for sponsoring us. But it is going to be from me, from Vedius, and from the rest of the production crew. It's going to be good night.